Hello, this is Purge, bringing you guys the first person replay commentary. This is a PL game that I played like a week ago or something like that. Hop into the Dota buff to start things off. Let me just open it up and then. Boom. Okay, so PL, one of the most popular carries played in the meta currently. Occasionally picked on the pro scene, very popular in pubs, 27th most popular hero, 51% win rate, so he's positive, unlike most carries. At least that's how I feel about them. And his popular skill build is pretty much entirely correct. This is basically the popular build in the pro scene. Some pros will get stats here at 8, 9, and 10, and some may even skip the Phantom Rush first skill point. But I think that's a bit of a mistake because you should get at least one skill point. The way that it works is every 16 seconds you can charge to your opponent at 800 movement speed, and once you get there you start attacking, but you no longer have the buff. And the reason this is really strong to have one skill point is when you spawn illusions they will get that charge, so it's important to keep your damage up this way. When I first played PL, I felt like the best build was going 4-1-4 with Phantom Rush maxed out second. And maybe I'll have to play PL more to experiment with this, but most top tier players, none of them go this build. The reason I felt it was so good is because it gets the cooldown down to 4, and at 4 seconds your illusions can basically permanently charge after one target. So if you're against a support that doesn't have any AoE clear, you can very easily solo kill them once you get diffusal blade because you just continue chasing them. I wonder if that's maybe a build that's not fully explored, but as a whole, the main reason they max out Doppelganger is because the cooldown goes down by quite a bit, down to 10 seconds, and Doppelganger is really important because it helps you farm faster, and it helps you escape danger more often. And that's kind of how PL is played right now. He's not played annoying like he was before. He's still a very obnoxious hero to play against sometimes if you don't have the tools to play against him, but at the very least, he's not as annoying as Rat Dota as he was in the past, in my opinion. I think he's a much better balance in design right now. So the way that it works is you basically make all of yourself and all of your illusions go invulnerable for 1 second, and then you teleport basically to an area, how far away? 325 away or something like that. So it's not a very long distance, and then it also spawns with 2 illusions, one of which takes 600% damage and deals 20% damage, or one that deals 0 damage but takes normal damage. So basically automatically spawns you with 2 extra illusions, one of which does 20% damage, which is basically a 20% increase to damage, which helps you farm faster, and the other one can tank fully, but it does no damage, so that's kind of the trade-off that you get out of it. Cast point is 0 seconds, very easy to spam. You can use it to move from camp to camp a little faster. That's where it increases your farming speed. You can go up cliffs if you need to. But as a whole, people will either go 4-1-1 with stat points until later, and then they'll max the Doppelganger, or they'll go 4-4-1 with no stat points, and they'll just get it leveled up. The problem with not going stat points is that Phantom Lancer has a pretty low HP in the early game. And the common build right now is basically treads into Diffusal Blade with sometimes you get a drum, sometimes you get a vlads, sometimes you get a ring of... Oh, you pretty much always get a ring of aquilla, but sometimes you get a vlads as well. The game that I played, I actually did go vlads. And if we look at some of the items and the win rates on them, Power Treads is pretty much always the boots you want. Eventually you'll get BOTs. Has a very high win rate because that means the PL is super farm, so ignore the win rate. You don't want to rush BOTs. I think going the treads first is really important because your illusions primarily spawn from your hero hitting. In the past it was a mix of your hero and your illusions, but now it's mostly your hero because the trigger chance is 40, 45, and 50%. In the past it was something like 12. Very low in comparison. The downside is that your illusions only last for 8 seconds if you create them, and 4 seconds if your illusions create them. So you can't just like send your illusions up a lane to split push anymore. If there are a lot of illusions, you know that the PL is nearby, unless it was from Manta illusions that spawned them. So the damage they take is 500%, it no longer gives you magic resistance like it did before. So you can basically spawn illusions very easily now, unlike in the past, and they're mostly spawned from your hero, so it's important to have high attack speed, which is why Power Treads is so good. You also cast a decent amount of spells, so tread switching is pretty nice as well. Doppelganger is not that expensive, and Spirit Lance is not too bad either, but you know, more mana will always help you. So the reason Diffusal Blade is so important right now is because of your ability to chase. You can also dodge abilities with Doppelganger, and you can't really split push like you could before, so Radiance is completely fallen out of style. But Diffusal Blade is the way to go. It gives you 25 mana burn, which means that all your illusions, when they hit, will do an extra 25 physical damage if your opponent has mana. Once they run out of mana, this doesn't do as much, but it also gives you agility. So you don't have to upgrade it to the 2nd level because it doesn't drain more with the 2nd level of Diffusal Blade, but it does increase the agility by 15 and the intelligence by 4. That's the trade-off. Makes your illusions hit harder because obviously agility will transition into illusions doing damage at a rate of 16%. So basically 16% of this 35 is what you get for damage out of Diffusal Blade 2, and that's like what's 10%? Like 3.5. It's not much. Upgrading it basically goes from 2 damage, no more than that, like 3 damage to like 5 damage. It's very, very small. I would argue it's not worth upgrading to the level 2 diffusal blade in most cases. It's good for your hero though. 15 damage, 2 armor, that's pretty good. 15 attack speed, might be worth it just for that alone. The fast upgrade, it's a big boost to your primary damage, so that's cool. Diffusal blade is basically the core item. The follow-up item is almost always a Manta style, because Manta style gives you more options to remove silences, to dodge spells. If you run out of illusions, you can Manta style. If you want to do a lot of damage to somebody, you pop the Manta to get more illusions. Also, these illusions do far more damage than your regular ones. These ones, again, do 16% damage, with the Doppelganger extra doing 20. Manta style illusions do 33, so the Manta illusions hit way harder than your primary hero does. Ring of Aquila is pretty much always a pickup, because it gives you everything you need, a little bit of mana. It gives you a Wraith Band for some damage, that's really good. And Slanching Yasha occasionally might be worth it. I saw somebody build it in a pub once, and I think it's okay. It's honestly not bad. If they have any silence, I would recommend getting Manta style 100%. But if they don't, you know what? You could probably get away with getting Sanjin Yasha, because your hero. It's more about your hero than your illusions than it used to be. It still is a lot about your illusions. So the Sanjin Yasha proc doesn't apply on your illusions, but it does apply with your primary hero, and your primary hero is hitting a lot. So I think Sanjin Yasha is actually okay on PL right now, if they don't have a lot of silences. Because then you get an extra Sanj worth of HP, which you wouldn't have normally. Manta style only gives you, what, 10 strength, whereas Sanj gives you 16. So slightly more HP out of the Sanj and Yasha, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so on the bright side with Manta, those you can split push with it, and you can push towers, and you can farm a little faster with it, I would argue. Even though Sanj and Yasha gives you 6% more movement speed, which is pretty cool too. So that's basically all the items. So the ones that are really missing from here are Eye of Skadi and the Abyssal Blade. Those are the 2 items I really should be on here for most use items. So I've made a lot of complaints about this. I started casting a lot more this year, and I casted a lot when PL got introduced, and almost every single PL player in the pro scene was kind of doing weird builds. I feel like PL's not completely filled out or figured out for the pro scene. Usually when a hero plays in the pro scene for a couple months, pretty much everybody starts eventually going the same item builds, but PLs are still pretty varied. Skill builds are a little different, the item builds are a little different. There isn't like one build where everybody's like, yeah, that's for sure the way to play PL. And I think the difference between Heart and Skadi is one of these places. So in almost all cases, I feel like Skadi is better than Heart on PL, and the reason is because it gives you a lot more damage for your illusions. Heart gives you just HP for your illusions, and they end up taking, what, 600, 500%? Like, they take 5 times the normal damage that you take, so getting a Heart doesn't really increase your HP by that much, in my opinion. It doesn't really make your illusions that tanky, and it's not important to make your illusions tanky anymore because they respawn so fast. Like, you have a very, very high chance. In the past, you just wanted to keep them alive because then the Radiance Burn would basically eventually work your opponents down, and that was a huge pain in the butt. But now it's not as important. It's more important to make your hero good and to make your illusions stronger, in my opinion. With Skadi, you basically get to apply the Skadi slow whenever you attack, which is very easily done due to the fact that you have Phantom Rush and you have Doppelganger to get on top of your opponent. And Skadi gives almost as much HP as Heart anyways. It gives about 700 versus the 1000 from Heart. So it's almost as good for the simple point that it gives almost as much HP. Plus Skadi gives 25 agility, which is going to transition towards your illusions doing more damage. It's also going to transition towards your illusions attacking faster, and it's also going to, which is actually the bigger part, more so than the damage, because the attack speed is going to mean you're going to feed back more often. So agility is really important for that reason alone. And also gives you more in-pool. That's something that'll add that Heart wouldn't do. So I think the only times that Heart is better than Skadi is when you are going to be engaging and disengaging from fights a lot, and when you're death pushing, you're going up high ground and pushing, and then you want to disengage after you take 25% HP. That way you don't get bursted down. That's the benefit of Heart over Skadi, is that it will be regenerating your HP if you stop taking damage. So if you're against heroes that don't have very much AoE and are going to have trouble dealing with you when you have big clumps of illusions, I think Heart might be better. And if you're pushing really hard and you want to end the game a little earlier, I think Heart might be better too. But if you're going straight damage build, Skadi far superior. So I'm surprised not to see Skadi on the list. Vlads is kind of a big, it's kind of an expensive item for slot count because it's only a 2,500 gold item. But it's very good for pushing, and it's good for making your team a lot better for early pushes because it'll give your team bonus damage, lifesteal, and armor, which is pretty cool. So Vlad's is situationally good as well. Abyssal Blade's the final item. It's very good now because it doesn't make your illusions that much better, but since your illusions do such a low percentage of damage compared to the past, it's not a big deal. And the important part is being able to stun and getting that bonus damage and that bash on your main hero. So I think a late game Abyssal Blade is really good too. And maybe last item, Butterfly, of course, is still very good. Daedalus is still very good. All that stuff, typical illusion stuff, pretty much. So we'll go over hero matchups. Heroes that he's best against. No surprise here. Wraith King. And that is, again, a huge percentage. Remember, I think the other day we did a replay. I think it was Morphling versus Prophet. And it was like 6%, and I thought it was huge. This is, I dare say, the biggest advantage I've ever seen. And that's because Wraith King is hard countered by Mana Drain. If Wraith King gets Mana Drain, then he cannot use his ultimate, which means he does not respawn twice in a team fight. So huge counter here, and that's because you're very, very easily able to drain mana using Diffusal Blade. You spawn illusions fast, and he runs into a big problem. Ursa is having issues because he's also very important. Mana is very important for Ursa, so that he can use his ultimate. Actually, I don't know if that costs mana now. It used to not. I don't know if it does now. But even Overpower is really important, his second skill, so that he can attack fast. If you drain his mana, he doesn't get to Overpower. The other problem is Ursa is very weak AoE, so you can very easily kill a Ursa with a Phantom Lancer by jumping around. Huskar has no AoE, weak to physical damage. You can drain his mana so he doesn't get his Inner Vitality, and also with that many targets hitting him, it's very hard to armlet toggle through the damage. Templar Assassin doesn't have good AoE, lots of damage sources will break her refraction, and when she's out of mana, she's very limited as a hero, so PL is very good versus TA. Good versus Viper, he doesn't have good AoE. Vengeful Spirit doesn't have good AoE, very easily dodgeable single target ability. You can dodge it with Doppelganger very, very simply, because you do go immune for that 1 second. And we've got Visage, poor AoE, also very weak to physical damage. Dry Ranger is not very good against heroes that can dive against her, and PL has 2 ways to do that, both Phantom Rush and Doppelganger. These all make sense completely, in my opinion. Even though, look at this, Visage matches, very few, but a very good win rate for the PL. Alright, heroes that he's bad against. Basically AoE heroes. Ember Spirit can use Sleight of Fist to slash all of the PL illusions, and if he has a Battle Fury, he's going to do a lot of cleave damage, which makes it very scary for PL. Timbersaw, lots of AoE, it's all pure damage, so very easy for him to see the pack of PLs and just hop on through. A little scary because he can get his mana drained, so the win rate's still pretty high, but Timbersaw is definitely pretty decent versus the PL, because you can very quickly figure out which one's the real one and then burst them down. Sand King, lots of AoE, so very good for being able to figure out which one's the real one. Also, you can Burrow Strike instantly, so it's definitely possible to lock down a PL before he gets Doppelganger off. Leshrac, tons of AoE, although there are some, the win rate versus Lesh isn't very good. If we look at Leshrac right now, I'm sure his win rate's really high, because Lesh is in a really good spot. Yeah, look, huge win rate right now. He feels really strong. I played a game of him last night, and he just definitely feels overpowered. So Lesh will be getting a nerf very soon, I believe. But huge win rate on Lesh, that's the only reason. Like, PL has an advantage against him, but the win rate is still very low because Lesh's win rate is just naturally very high, so I'm not too surprised to see that. So that's why Lesh is decent against PL. But in the same vein, I feel like a really farm PL, if a PL is able to get ahead of the Leshrac, you could definitely really wreck him. But it's so much magic damage, and it doesn't have to hit somebody specifically, so Lesh is good against it. Earthshaker's good against it because lots of AoE. Echo Slam will do more damage for illusions, so that's pretty cool. Good for Earthshaker. Darkseer is, I mean, I'm a little surprised to see Darkseer here, but I mean, you can vacuum make a wall of the PL illusion and potentially spawn more illusions from it, but I don't think it's very common. I just feel like Darkseer does good AoE damage with Iron Shell, so you can very quickly find the real one. I mean, if you're taking 500% damage, that means every second those PL illusions are taking like 500 or 450 magic damage, basically, per second, which is amazing. So you'll probably very quickly be able to figure out which one's the real one. That's probably why Darkseer is up here. Tiny, lots of AoE, either when burst or when he has eggs, and Magnus as well, more AoE, and he gives some power to heroes to help you cleave. So not too surprised to see any of those. So that's basically the basics of PL, popular in the pro scene, very popular in pubs, and I'll show you now how badly I play him. So we'll hop in here. There we go. Alright, so starting the game up. This is a pub game that I played. I think we were randoming a lot, and I ended up randoming the PL, which is cool for me. There we go. So, that is not my hero. There we go. So I ran him, so I got to cheat a little bit. I got a Ring of Protection with a Stout Shield. If I didn't random, I probably would have started with just the Ring of Protection with the Salve and the Tango. And then maybe like 2 Ironwood Branches. It's important because I wanted to make a fast Basilius in my lane. That way I can have more mana regen, since having Spirit Lances is pretty important to your laning stage. Peel actually has a really good level 1 nuke, does 100 magic damage, which is higher than most nukes, and it's a 7-second cooldown. But it's a little mana expensive, you sometimes have trouble affording it, so you can only cast, like, what, 2 at level 1? Still good, but not amazing. And it slows for 10% for 3.25 seconds. So the slow actually scales pretty good on this skill. I didn't realize that it's so scaled, but it does. I did know the illusion duration scaled. At level 4 it only does 250 damage.
The battle begins.
He's able to get the Vanir in. I maybe could have nuked that guy, and maybe could have gotten that kill, but maybe a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Walking up this way is definitely dangerous. Really high chance for them to run past the creep wave, but it's slightly faster. Oh, actually, I was okay there. Slightly faster than the creep wave, so I'll be fine. But yeah, fast ring of protection will give me a Basilius, and I'll have lots of armor and more base damage and lots of mana regen, so good for me. For now, my focus is just outlasting my opponent. Getting a Quelling Blade is usually really recommended on a Phantom Lancer because you do end up spending time in the jungle later. I believe that Quelling Blade doesn't work with his illusions anymore. It got nerfed because it was too good when you were playing a hard carry. I ended up buying a fast boots of speed, which is part of the reason I didn't spend any extra money that I had at the start of the game, because when you random and you're able to get a South Tango and a Ring of Protection and a Stout Shield, you're kind of at a good point already, and if you're able to pick up a boots, you can abuse your opponents basically, and I was expecting the lane to maybe not go the best, so I thought that getting a fast boots of speed would be a bit better for the early purchase, and I definitely feel like it was. A lot of times I'll wait till level 2 to skill up my first skill if I don't need to use an ability, and in this case I definitely did that. Got 1 Lance and 1 Doppelganger here at level 2. Getting my last hit stolen, nothing new there. This is usually the skill that you'll get at level 2 and level 1, Doppelganger or Spirit Lance. I would probably never get Phantom Rush at level 1 because it's a 16-second cooldown. I can't imagine too many situations where I'd rather have that skill over Doppelganger or Spirit Lance, so I think this is totally normal. And for now, I just continue to heal up and start working on my Basilius. Now, I wonder if some of you guys are thinking, like, do I buy Midas on this hero ever if I have a really good early game? And I think the answer is pretty much no, resoundingly. You don't really need a Midas to farm well in this hero, in my opinion. It's more important that you just get items that immediately are useful to you, because the Midas is pretty expensive. It's about 2,000 gold, gives you 30 attack speed, which does nothing for your illusions, by the way. Attack speed directly doesn't translate to them. All it does is help you attack faster, so I guess I could spawn more illusions with it, but that's about it. This was very peculiar, I felt. I don't know if they were trolling or what there, but I maybe could have pressured him a bit harder, but it was fine to just stop there, in my opinion. But I don't think Midas is the way to go. You don't really need to. I think it's unnecessary. You're better off just to focus on going for as many agility items or as many stat items as you can, because you want to make your units or your illusions as strong as possible and your hero as strong as possible, as fast as possible. Kind of the same case as the Morphling video yesterday. You just want to make your hero really, really strong, really fast, because it does take a bit to become useful. Bit of a weird avalanche there. Now I've got the mana regen going. I'll just nuke people down when I can. If I have a bit of extra mana, it's fine. Throw it out there. Force them out of the way, and I'll be okay. Couple avalanches to lower my HP, but really not a big deal for me.
Denied.
And at this point, what do you get? Oh, I got a Quelling Blade here. This is good to do if the wave's really pushed up and I'm not feeling very safe. I can just shift to the jungle instead and go for last hits. And in fact, I think what I ended up doing here was I ended up jungling quite early, just to benefit my supports a bit. This is probably a little too early to do it. In a typical game, you wouldn't see a PL start jungling this early. But by grabbing the Quelling Blade, I basically guarantee that I can do it quite early. Quite possibly should have used Doppelganger here, because I have ended up losing a little bit of HP. And I found they do use Doppelganger. That way I don't tank all the damage. Just tank a little bit of it. In fact, I actually think I just continued to tank the whole thing. So really all I got was like 20% damage. So with my salve there, that gives me an extra level, that gives Shadow Shaman a couple extra levels. and hopefully we can get a kill on this. I actually ended up getting a stat level here instead of Phantom Rush, which I think is fine. It's not that bad to delay it. Phantom Rush in most cases is just not usable. It's not really useful in the early game. Sometimes you can use it to get kills and things like that, but as a whole it's a bit situational. Like right there would be a good time to use Phantom Rush because I could be in melee range already, and instead I had to slowly walk in. Luckily we were able to get a kill here. Almost got enough mana for the Lance here, and he's able to clean him up. That was good for us. Peel actually does a ridiculous amount of right click damage in the early game, so don't be afraid to right click. Look at this, I already have 41 agi. You get 3 per level, so I've gotten 4 levels there, which is 12. That still starts with like a really high base agility, so that's why your base damage is so high. I mean, obviously there's some other buffs and things that come into line with that, but I have huge base damage as a Peel, so don't be afraid to get a fast power treads and just right click your opponent with it. Peel's actually a pretty good 1v1 hero because of this, because your nuke is pretty spammable, does pretty high damage at early levels, your right click's heavy, your armor's really good, 6 armor already, plus I have a Ring of Abyssal. I'm sitting at 9 armor, that's really big. One of the best heroes against Axe is actually Phantom Lancer because his armor is so high, for example. Whenever I lane against a Peel as an Axe, I'm always surprised. I'm like, wait, this is actually not going well for me. He's actually spinning, like these spins actually don't do that much. And his hits actually do a lot. So for a melee hero, it's actually pretty solid. So I basically just opted to sacrifice for my team this game, which is why I bought the fast Mask of Death, because I wanted to say, you know what, I'm just going to spend a lot of time jungling, and I'm going to make sure that I can do that, and that my supports can still get gold and experience in lane. So opt to make an illusion here, that way I don't have to tank all the damage, but even still every hit gives me about 15 HP or something like that. This looks a little dangerous, so I decided to retreat here a little bit, throw a nuke out, and there is my ring of aquilla that I built. This is maybe a mistake to build this right here. I probably should have focused on getting treads instead, because treads versus a ring of aquilla, or what I basically bought was a wraith band. Wraith band is like 385 gold, something like that. If I would have put that gold into building a power treads instead, it could have really increased my damage comparatively. I shouldn't have nuked that there, that was a big waste of my mana, but on the bright side I can right click the CM. I mean, look how much damage this is, like 94 damage, right? Like, it's so much.
You're dead.
My illusion able to get the kill, and at level 6 grab your ultimate, of course. So pretty easy to pick up there. I still end up building treads before finishing any other items, but I would argue that bringing a wraith band out to myself is a very marginal benefit, because that's all it is. It's just a wraith band. I get the free item slot basically, and to make things worse, I'm actually building a Vlads this game, so there's not really any point to buy the wraith band unless I start with it. So that was a bit of a mistake by me. This is actually really cool. Chachi already had level 6 here. I felt like we could fight this because we had the wards. Again, right clicking were impossible. Oh, the CM actually didn't die there. I'm surprised. But even still, lots of physical damage. And because I spent that level or 2 jungling and let the Shadow Shaman get solo experience instead, he hit 6 at the same time as me, and it ended up being really useful for that tower push. We got a lot of kills out of it. So that was pretty cool. I felt really good about that fight. Now, next goal is to be making a Vlads, and because I'm making a Vlads, it's a mistake for me to go for the Wraith Band, because at some point I'm going to run out of the space, and I'm going to sell the Wraith Band. I mean, at this point right now, I'm actually pretty close, and I made a mistake here by spamming on the purchase, because I was like, wait, I already have a Ring of Basilius, but luckily you can disassemble the Basilius, so I can turn my Aquila into a Vlads. So I think if you're making a Vlads, then I would recommend not going for the Ring of Aquila unless you start with the Wraith Band, which you probably shouldn't. And so if you do end up going Vlad, just skip the ring. So there's the Vlads. There's my my Wraith Band. Instead, I probably should have gotten a Bracer. Maybe turn that into a drum instead. Hard to say. Early Vlads in the past, I always used to really hate on it. But the main reason that it's basically just good is because it allows you to jungle without needing any other regen item. Because it is some HP regen item, gives you like, what, 2? 3 now, because it gives you an aura of heal, because it has a headdress in it. But in the past, it didn't give you any HP, it just gave you lifesteal. It doesn't make you very good against heroes, but because my base damage is so stupidly high, like, look at that, I have 100 damage, and I'm level 8. and all I have is a Wraithman and a Treads. Isn't that ridiculous? But because I have the Vlads, I can basically just spend time in the jungle, and I don't have to worry about limiting my farm at all. And it also allows my team to farm in my safe lane. Obviously, we took that tower really fast, so there wasn't very much safety farming there, but by getting the Vlads, I didn't have to go back to base at all here. I didn't once go back to base despite being low. And now I'm full health, and I can shift over and fight, and I have 5 armor instead of the 3 that I would have gotten from the base. So it's pretty useful to have. If you do spend a lot of time in the early game farming in the jungle, then it's a good pickup. If you do go this build where you're life stealing and jungling, always get a Culling Blade, unless you're a ranged hero. That's the only case for me, of course. I tried to use Doppelganger here to hop in a little bit earlier, but unfortunately for me, it was slightly outside of range. Instead, said, okay, that's fine. We'll just pick up this Magnus kill instead. A little bit of charge going on from the Magnus, and we just clean him up. Pretty simple. And now I go back to farming, having a really good early game. This is another item that I used to think was the wrong choice to go on a Phantom Lancer, which is the yasha. And now I've kind of come around to it. I kind of realized, like, this is why people buy it. And the reason people buy the fast yasha and Phantom Lancer rather than just going for the full diffusal blade. Diffusal blade is like 3,000 gold, about a little bit more than that. Yasha is 2,050 right now, so it's actually about 50% of the cost of diffusal. I used to think, like, why buy Yasha when it marginally increases the damage of your hero compared to the feedback damage, when you could just buy a diffusal blade. And the reason, I think, is because it just helps you farm a lot faster. And it's not necessarily because of the damage, but it's the movement speed, basically. It helps you get from camp to camp, to fight, and you spend less time running around the map. Because PL's actually a very slow hero, 340 movement speed. So I feel like as a whole, PL actually can really benefit from having that extra movement speed. So I'm just kind of standing here because it gives the illusions a bit more armor. Just wanted to do some harassment to the tiny base, and I've accomplished that. It's forced them to essentially rotate. And as long as I can see the other heroes on the map, I'm pretty comfortable just staying here because the farm is a lot better than anything I would get in the jungle. A lot more gold to dodge this one here. So they were going to do the same thing, be able to charge and a skewer. Have to be quite careful here. Almost have the Yasha finished. See the Luna TPing, which means it's time to go back to the jungle. This is what you should do as a carry. Push out the lane when things get a little scary or you think you're going to die. You retreat, go back into your jungle to farm. Stay off the map a bit. If you don't want to go the Vlad's build, another solution is going for a bottle instead. I saw EE do that build once or twice. He wouldn't go Vlad's, but he did end up going bottle instead. I think that build's okay as well. You can benefit from a DD, a haste rune, invis, all that stuff is useful. A bounty rune is great as well. The only downside is you have to move to the rune spot. Sometimes you will have to fight with your mid player about that. So continuing to last hit, my CS is okay here. Could be a little higher, I feel. But my net worth is probably at the top, and it is actually. I'm 6-0-2. If we look at what Luna's actually doing very comparatively, 4-0 no. Luna's had a nice game as well. Her CS is pretty close. And everybody else is super far away. So I'm guessing Luna's their best player because it's 12 minutes and nobody has higher than like 30 CS, which is embarrassing. A little bit of a TP there by Tiny, and I'm actually pretty content with it. I actually did see, I don't know if that was a replay bug or not, but I saw the Quap over here. I'm waiting for her to frostbite me, then I was going to doppelgang, because that removes debuff, so that was a very, very easy kill for me. Make sure you don't doppelgang right at the start though, because you don't necessarily want them to know. You don't want to like play your trap card right at the start, right? You want to hit them once or twice, then they say, oh, a PL's hitting me. And then after you hit them twice and you use your lance, they say, oh, Nova, figure out which one's the real one, frostbite the real one, and as soon as they frostbite you, doppelgang. Because it removes the debuff, it keeps all your illusions alive, and then you can really just start wailing on her. And at that point, she was very low, right? I did that in the perfect order. Hit her once or twice, lance, then doppelgang. If you don't do it that way, you'll get a few less hits in before she reacts, and that might mean that she has enough survivability and enough disable to actually react to you properly. So if it's a CM, I played that right. If it's something like a Vengeful Spirit, you need to try to dodge the stun if possible. Sometimes you should show up for fights if possible, and I was actually pretty close, so I decided to shift over. Didn't really need to be there apparently, but I did get some gold from it. And also, very importantly, I was able to get this kill on the Luna, and that was her dominating streak, so that felt really good. And then we found the stack over here, which meant that we could very easily clean this up. Again, I have a Vlads, I can spawn illusions, which will tank the damage pretty evenly. And now this is all farm that the Luna will not get that she would have had before when she was stacking it over. So this is really good for me. And now I'm 8-0-2. That should put my net worth way above hers, and it does. Basically, a kill, I stole the unstoppable streak on the enemy carry, I stole her ancient stack, got experience for her ancient stack, and now I'm basically stupidly far ahead in this game. An 8-0 on a hard carry is just the place that, it's like the dream place for any hard carry, basically. It's very difficult to lose the game when you get into this kind of a advantage. So Diffusal Blade is next. It'll replace my Wraith Band most likely. I don't know if... The Quelling Blade does far more for jungling and for farming than the Wraith Band does, that's for sure. Doppelgang to dodge an ability. It's a bit obvious which one of those is real. I read a post on Reddit about a guy that says if you want to be really good on peel, you need to set your... you have to set some bind that says... I can't remember, but it's like you have to click to move all units or something like that. And the purpose, the reason it's really important is because when you come out of Doppelganger, if you only move one guy, if you only move your primary hero, it's very obvious which one's the real one. So what you need to do is retreat with all three. That way they don't necessarily know which one is the real one. That's when things get tricky. Or you can hotkey the other ones to different hotkeys. That way every time that you end up moving, then you can get away with, you can move maybe the one that takes the same damage as you. Always move that one predictably or something like that, for example. That's a really good method to take, but I didn't do that. I haven't done that in preparation. I ran in this game. But if you play PL a lot, I really recommend doing that. Hotkey your other illusions, that way when you doppelgang away, they'll be a little confused which one's the real one. And that's really important to secure kills, or to die less, basically. So I see a lot of heroes on the map. That means I can farm in the lane now because I'm not worried about dying. And I do still have to be a little careful this game. They could RP me, do a tiny combo, bop ulti me. Maybe they have an Orchid picked up and they'll just silence me. I mean, I do have a solution against that soon. It's Diffusal Blade. You can use the Purge ability to remove silence from yourself. And they are literally all mid, and some of my heroes are already dead. So I don't think I actually want to show up to this fight. It's probably better for me to just split push here. So that's what I went to do instead. Kill the creeps first, since it's free gold basically, and then the creeps will help me at the tower. And now I can just go tower. If I can get away with this tower kill, it'd be really worth it. It's maybe not worth it for 3 of my allies to die, but I would trade it for like 1 or 2. Should have gotten the last hit on that. That was pretty poor. And now I'm immediately going to TP away because there's a high chance that they're going to be shifting over to come kill me. And yeah, I did put the Wraith Band back on the courier. Item ended up being a little bit of a waste. And now I'm just going to kind of chase because I've got Diffusal Blade now. I feel like there's a high chance that I can score kills. Putting the illusions on various heroes. I don't think I did this fight very well at all. I kept changing targets. A little bit of an ulti coming out of the CM, but... Again, Doppelganger removed the dagger. And as you can see, I still have to be careful here, especially because I didn't go that many stat levels. I probably should sit on strength treads, I feel, at this point, because my damage is very, very good compared to my opponents, but with all the chain stuns hitting me, I definitely can just die. So I have to be a bit careful. Any new illusions I spawn, I should be sending on the magnets to join his mana. And look at that, he just, 1 nuke and he kills everybody. This is doing 5 damage, 5 times damage, you know. That's a lot. Avalanche was pretty poor there. My mana's pretty low, so I should honestly just back up. It's a lot safer if I just don't go into the fight. So back into the jungle I go, basically. Again, I'll slowly gain mana out of my Vlads, and definitely gain HP from the Vlads and lifesteal, so should be fine here. Looks like there was a fight mid, unfortunately our sniper got caught.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
See, if they kind of go 5 mid on you, you just kind of have to not get initiated on. You just sit back, kill the creep wave as it approaches, and then you're in a good spot. I probably, instead of killing that centaur camp, I maybe should have shifted straight to the top lane instead. I feel like they should have taken the mid tower there. That was a big mistake from them. This is actually a huge mistake, taking the small camp as well, because lane creeps give a lot more gold than the jungle does, so shouldn't have been doing that. And I'm actually maxing out my charge, because I felt like I'm far enough ahead that if I get my charge levels up, I'll actually be very, very strong. So kill 1 more creep wave, then I can TP to mid lane. I can probably get away with it, especially with the wards being dropped like that. Now I'm TPing aggressively. I'm going to be a little bit late, but we should be able to get kills. To get away from that one, we got to deny the tower. They used Eclipse. It's actually okay, I feel. It's an okay trade. That Arcanes helps a lot. This is really dangerous. Did a little bit of a charge in here, and now I gotta be careful. Diffusal Blade to slow down. Got a kill on the Luna. Continue chasing diffusal in 2. Tiny up low, that was really stupid. That was very stupid. As soon as he was TPing in, I should have realized what was happening. AK, I was about to die. I ended up feeding my godlike to Tiny for about 900 gold. So it was stupid. But it was kind of fun to chase. I mean, my opponents aren't very organized is basically their issue. If they had like a blink on, I don't know what they have on mag, probably not a blink. If they had a blink on mag, things would be a lot scarier, because they could basically blink, RP me, and then skewer me into the enemy team, and then blow me up with all the nukes. So they have a lot of nukes, right? But because they're behind, they don't really have that opportunity instead. So I can kind of play aggressive, but I should have still played a lot safer. So I'm still lacking a bit on survivability. So I sell the Quelling Blade at this point because I want TP scrolls, and my farm rate is still pretty good. I'm hitting for like 180 now, so I feel like I can get away with not having Quelling. It is definitely going to limit my creep killing ability and my jungling ability, but once I finish my Manta, maybe I should have just put it on the courier, because once I finish Manta, I'll have space again. Bit of a mistake there, maybe. Oh yeah, I should probably sit on, huh? A little dangerous to push out this far, but I have pretty good escape. I don't have, I guess it's a little dangerous because I don't have my teleport scroll up. So if I got ganked right here, I could doppelgang, but I couldn't TP afterwards, so it limits my escape options. I send the illusions forward, they're going to die by the time they get there, no big deal. And shifting over, going to see if there's another big ancient stack. That's one of the good, like whenever you're playing carry and you're winning, you always want to push the lane. And actually in almost all cases, you just want to push the lane. Probably should have been by the push, not ancienting. I think this is a little overly greedy, but Mastercell's finished. Sniper scared the Luna away. Can very easily jungle now. Again, I should be sitting on strength treads. My HP is probably the most important thing in this game because I have so much burst damage. Oh. Ate the RP. Dust actually does nothing. And there you go. I just took too much damage, basically. He had Empower on the Tiny. He could do a lot of AoE to figure out which one's a real one. There's a lot of things going for them there. It was pretty simple, you know, just cast their spells, nuke me down little by little. I could have ran instead of fighting. I tried to fight them. That was a mistake, because they just do too much AoE. Empower, Shockwave, Avalanche, Toss, a lot of those very low cooldown. They could just keep my HP low and then show up and even though I'm stupidly farmed in this game, 2 heroes with like a combined net worth of mine, they could very easily kill me, just with skills, basically. So, moderate mistake by me to die there. Really shouldn't have died. If anything, I maybe should have focused my mana draining efforts better. Maybe focus on the Tiny, because his nukes are a bit more spammable than the Magnuses, I feel. Nice kill on the Quap there with the Suns. A lot of smoke at this point. I don't remember why. Maybe so we could Roche or go for kills. I don't remember. PL's a very poor Roshan hero, actually, because he needs illusions to do most of his damage into tank, and you can't actually spawn illusions on Roche. Or at least you can, but if they attack Roche, they die instantly. So camp was gone, that meant that there was a hero next to us, and we ended up finding a CM. Maybe I was frustrated because we weren't getting enough kills or something, I'm not sure. But really easy kill though, we got a double out of that, so that was really good. I don't completely understand why I smoked there, but we did, and it worked out. I think I was just worried about impassiveness, and maybe the Luna was doing well. Look at the scoreboard. That was her 3rd death, so it was going okay. I don't know. Maybe a little unnecessary, but we got 2 kills out of it, worked out. So
Top tower is under attack.
we could defend top, but it's better to push when 2 heroes are dead, and we're this close to a tower, so onto the tower. Pop a little fur up. Doppelgang because I anticipated a nuke. A little bit of right click on the Magnus. Blinking if he has a blink. He does have a blink. And now that we got the tower, I might as well just back off. Gonna be completely fine. So because of some of the problems that I had in fights, basically justified my use of purchasing a heart over a Skadi this game. It's part of the reason I talked about it in the beginning. So I felt like their team was basically all just burst damage. Trying to make as many illusions as possible here. That way I don't get by the Eclipse. Probably should have killed the Luna there over the Quap. That was a bit of a mistake. It ended up Guess killing the Quap, but I should have definitely gotten the Luna there. Despite her having magic immunity up, my illusions still hit pretty hard, because they still hit for a percentage of my base damage. What is it, 18? 8%? 12%? 16%. So 16% of this number is like 25 damage. Something around there, 25, 30 damage. It's okay, but if you're hitting with like 6 of them, it's like a double damage basically. It's actually quite strong. So, PL's actually decent against Luna at that point. You don't get the mana drain though, because she's magic immune, but you still get the physical damage. So I feel like I could have pressured her really, really easy there. So playing PL right now as a skilled hero is basically just predicting your opponents when they're going to cast their spells and dodging them. If you can do that, you're getting extra value out of your hero, and you can do really good things. Moving up and down cliffs, harassing, blah blah blah. So like I said, I think this is a hard game, definitely a hard game, because I'm so far ahead in damage that if I just buy HP and I guaranteed survive their initiation, then I will be able to kill them all, is what I'm planning to do basically. So that is my goal this game. Stay alive long enough to be able to survive, and then bam. Spawn illusions, clean up. Even if I don't do super well, we still have a sniper to do damage, we still have a Clinks to do damage. So I felt pretty comfortable going all in on the survivability. That was a little dangerous. I might have stayed on the low ground. I said, screw this, I'm taking Roche. Oh, we found a creep. So illusions go into Roche. You use the M button to do the move command. As you can see, any new illusion I spawn ends up being instantly killed. But it looks like I'm able to take it. So I'm hitting for a ridiculous amount of damage. Much like Morphling, a double damage actually does a stupid amount for this hero, because I'm buying all agility items.
Roshan has fallen to the Radiant.
I Manta a little earlier. See right there, I had a bad doppelganger. That was a mistake to go to the right. It's too far. I could go up or down. That would have worked better. And more importantly though, as soon as I ran back into the pit, I should have manted and probably ran at the Quap. That way I could have spawned more illusions. If I just manted, it only leaves enough HP for what I Manta spawned, and those are taking a lot of extra damage. If I just run at her instead while manting, then I get a pretty high chance to spawn some illusions, which means her glaives don't hit me as much, which means my HP would have been fuller. She basically casted her first Lucent Beam on me before I manted, which meant that... yeah, she cast her first Lucent Beam on me before I manted, which meant that my resulting mantas were very low HP as well. So that was just really poorly done. I shouldn't have gone back in. Maybe if I did, I should have been a little bit more careful. But you can see my PL is not good. At least it's very rusty compared to the most people that play them very often. So made some mistakes there. And I'll wait to respawn. I got my Reaver here. It was just a bad attempt to Roche, honestly. If we go to Roche like that anyways, we should have been using like a smoke. Or waited until we had a team fight advantage. So just a poor choice, that's all. So there's the Reaver, an extra 500 HP for me, and I'll TP back in the lane, go push it out. The Heart will give me 1000 HP. Skadi is generally better, but like I said before, I just need to survive bursts, and I feel like I can kill everybody. Pushing, pushing, pushing. We have decent vision on the map. Our waves are decently pushed out. We've got most of the towers taken. We got the mid-racks, so feel pretty good. I was able to dodge the RP at least. That was good. Try to doppelgang the low ground and I misclicked a little bit. Diffusal blade to remove the dagger. Now is about the time where you think about turning, because they've kind of overstepped their bounds a bit. I sort of wanted to fight here, but I waited a bit. Chachi had a really good nuke there. illusions, and now they've kind of been running through my illusions for a long time.
Radiant's top tower is under
Again,
attack.
diffuse the blade to remove the ability.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Kind of want to fight this, but it's a little scary. He ended up TPing out, so fight's over. They chased us for a very long time, and I evaded a lot of ganks. I mean, I don't think they did that very well, honestly. Like they're not very good players. That's pretty clear. But I think the video gives, at least this game gives a decent demonstration of where PL's strengths are. So I'm not saying that I played amazing this game or anything. I got a lot of kills because they weren't very good. They weren't very strong players, and they got their abilities late and they didn't initiate properly. If they initiated properly, things would have been very different. It would have been a lot harder for me because they should have killed me at least like 3 times there. They should have RP'd me. They had a chance. I did a little bit late to doppelgang away. You know, lots of stuff like that. If they were slightly better players, they would have killed me like an extra 3 times this game, I think. The old charge in for last hit. Very good. Every level I get now is really nice though, because extra stat points. 40 HP, 2 damage, a third of an armor. Last hitting with PL isn't exactly science either. You basically just A-click and your illusions kill stuff. It's pretty fun.
Illusion.
I opted to send some illusions to push, and something I maybe should have done earlier. Another good use of doppelganger, just sending your illusions somewhere else. Or jumping over trees, cliffs, stuff like that. Farm faster. Solutions for not okay.
Blessings upon a loyal warrior.
Now the game's kind of in a weird place. We were able to get Rax top while they were chasing us through the jungle to this area of the map. South of the creep wave. Save some time. And almost have the heart finish. Very delayed compared to where it could have been, but I like to farm in this area of the map a lot if we're winning the game because it limits my opponent's farm. I usually only feel safe doing these 3 camps, maybe Ancients, and sometimes this part of the wave. But as a carry or an evasive carry like this that is fairly survivable, you can definitely get away with it in most cases. It's a little scary because they have things like Shadow Blades. If they really wanted to, they could kill me. But you know, if I farm this part of the map, that means my team can farm the safe part of the map and pressure these areas. So that's why I like doing these parts of the map, because it basically makes sure that our team is farming a good 80% of the map, whereas they're only getting like 2 camps here in Ancients and whatever waves happen to be pushed up. So I think this method's really good. Again, pushing the creep waves up gives vision on your opponents, so it allows you to know that, oh, our jungle is mostly safe because we still have a tier 1 tower and all that good stuff. Tiny killed sniper in the jungle here. A gank kind of meant for me really. It's got a Shadow Blade. I messed that up. I accidentally microed my illusions. I should be on strength hits here. Use the blade off the dagger. Oh, I should have doppelganged, but I got Craigie. But I basically messed up that fight. The first issue was when I doppelganged to get away from the Magnus. I accidentally I tried to right click. I tried to right click my illusions on the Magnus. That way he would get hit and not be able to blink. But I accidentally right clicked the ground, I believe, instead of A clicking or something. So they ended up mismicroing, so he was able to blink and RP me. So the fight would have been completely different if that happened. And then the Tiny chased after me, could have been on Strength Treads, so I could have had an extra 70 HP or something. Then I got Craigied when I tried to fight him. Probably should have just ran and tried to wait until I could kite him, keep the illusions on him, diffusal him from range, and throw Spirit Lances to keep him locked down. So bit of a mistake there. I barely had too little HP, and he ended up getting the kill on me. So that's pretty big for him. That gave him just you know, just 893 gold. Not even for a streak, just a lot of gold because I had a huge percentage of my team's net worth. Yeah, a really high percentage of my team's net worth, especially compared to him. So that was very, very good for him. That helped him a lot.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
That 3 Craggies in a row here. A little bit of a chase on a Luna here, and yeah, that's Luna, man. She gets kind of screwed this late in the game. She's actually not very good for PL in my opinion. She does have AoE, but I don't think it's the right kind of AoE to beat PL. To beat PL, you basically need cleave AoE or equal AoE. The bouncing reduction from every bounce from the glaives is actually not high enough damage, because the illusions eating those they respawn so fast that any damage they soak, it's really good in that sense. So against like chain lightnings and stuff like that, it's quite good. Pretty easy to dodge avalanche, honestly, in most cases. It has a bit of a cast time and very slowly comes out. So we get the tiny kill. That was good. Basically just AoE attack or auto attack to victory. Got diffusal blade too because I ran out of charges. One mistake that you could argue I made over here is I kept using diffusal blade to remove the dagger from myself. I probably should use it to slow the tiny. That might have been better. This cooldown's pretty fast, 8 seconds. Could have slowed him for 4 seconds. Would have given me a chance to get some breathing room, maybe doppelgang away, get my heart going. Another mistake you could argue I made there. Felt like diving a bit. I think if I just doppelganger, it removes the dagger. I'm not 100% though. Yeah, it does. He basically just died to my illusions by themselves. So yeah, I maybe didn't need doppelganger those few times. Opted to fight the Luna, but at that point it doesn't basically matter. So just got so many kills in the early game, evaded enough ganks that I basically became unkillable. I think they had a lot of really good solutions against my heroes, just their ganking wasn't very proper. To analyze what they did improperly, they basically didn't organize their kills. They would run like one hero at me, or they do stupid ganks where Tiny would toss Magnus and I'd see it coming. It was the most obvious doppelgang. As soon as the toss hits me, if I doppelgang away, he then has to blink again to catch me. What they need to do is they need to smoke, they need to go during daytime, they need to see where I'm farming, and they just need to blink RP me before I can react, and then combo that, or follow that up with like a tiny avalanche toss, and then I just die. Like that would happen repeatedly. If those guys were better at ganking, I would have gotten wrecked this game, because I was basically just solo farming in mostly dangerous areas all game, so it was a bad idea for them. They could have ganked that a lot better, but they didn't, so it resulted in me getting a ridiculous amount of kills, and I got my items at a pretty good rate, and it picked up my heart and started to be tanky, so maybe I still should have gotten the Skadi instead. Hard to say, but the tankiness of the enemy heroes was actually something that was quite annoying to deal with. Going in the late game to deal with the Tiny, probably just... I almost think I should have just gone a Skadi afterwards, further increase my HP, give me a slow against the Tiny. That might have been okay. Butterfly obviously works very well also, because then the Tiny can't hit as often, but if he does hit, he cleaves, so it's kind of not the best counter. I don't know. If Tiny would have gotten safe from that game, I might have really had a problem there, but Luna wasn't really a huge issue. She's easily dealable with Phantom Lancer. So that's a PL game. Go play your pubs, go win your games, and I will continue to pick AoE heroes against you. If you guys want to counter against PL from a support side, Earthshaker is good, Jakiro's really good. Lion's pretty good because you can chain stun and gank really easily. Any burst supports are quite good. Lena's pretty good right now. You can dodge the spells, but if you find out which one's the real one, you can stun the AoE, stun them pretty easy. So those are all solutions. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. That's PL. Goodbye.